Hello, guys. Welcome back to our YouTube channel. Thank you very much for joining today. If this is your first time on this channel, thank you for dropping by. And if you're a returning subscriber, you're welcome back. So, today we're talking about something very exciting. We're just looking at, because as you know, a lot of people have been moving into Canada, and this is 2024. It is the goal of more people to still move to Canada. But now we're trying to see, is it really still, worth it coming to Canada or not? Right? And we're going to be discussing few points now just to look at the changes, or, talk about the changes that the country has experienced over the course of the years, and then we'll see, based off of this, will it be a good decision for me to move to Canada or not. And the number one thing that, or the very first thing I'd like to talk about is, can you guess? Is food. Food. And why is that? This is because food is very important. I mean, we can't survive without food. And there is no doubt that right now in 2024, things are more expensive in Canada than ever before. Food is expensive. I mean, Canada is now experiencing inflation, the economy is changing, just like every other normal economy, I would say, right? I mean, every economy experiences this every now and then, and food is one of the things that is really suffering from this, or the impact of where we're feeling the impact of this inflation. Because basically now with food, gone are those days when I would go grocery shopping and my cart is filled up just spending $100. Right now, you would buy something $100 and then you would look at your cart and it would be like, what's going on? Even with $200, I don't think your cart can still be full. With $200, you're still buying essentials. You have not started splurging on, okay, maybe those things that you really think, and maybe this thing is not necessary, let me just buy it. You are still buying necessities, and you're already spending $200. So food is expensive in Canada. It could also be as a result of increment in terms of transportation, because all these foods, they are moved from one province to another. So it could also be as a result of the cost of transport, fuel, and things like that. Now, what does this mean for somebody that might be considering moving into Canada? You may just want to think about the fact that, especially if you have a large family, think about how much you guys are going to be spending on groceries in a month. So say, for example, the family's income is what, maybe $2,000 or $3,000 or $4,000 in a month. There are other costs that's still going to come out of that, which are monthly costs, which we are going to get to. But if you guys are a lot in your household, then that means that you have to spend more money on food, right? And that already reduces the amount of money that you have to do some other things. Now, let's talk about another cost that has seen a jump in terms of what people pay nowadays. And now that is as regards to rent, or it could also be in the form of mortgage. So housing in general, right? Rent has spiked in Canada. People are paying more for rent now, and I believe this is as a result of the influx of people coming in, coupled with the fact that there's shortage in the amount of homes or houses that are available to absorb these people, right? So we've seen a jump or an increase in the amount of money people are paying for rent. Say, for example, when we got to Canada, and this was back in 2022, you could still get maybe either an apartment, maybe a 2-bedroom basement. You could get $800, $900. An apartment, you get maybe 1,200, 1,100. But right now, we're seeing costs in about 1,400, 1,500, 1,600, 700 maybe, even up until $2,000, right? So there's been a hike in the amount that people are paying for rent, and that is also a cost that is going to get absorbed by your family income, because you're going to be paying this thing on a monthly basis. And that's for if you're renting. How about in terms of mortgage? The interest rate has gone up. Interest rate has gone up. 2 years ago, when we came, the average of interest rate was about maybe 3%, but right now average is about 7%. That's over 100%, right? And so all of this just translates to the fact that you're paying more in terms of mortgage. And this one we noticed from, I would say, ending or the middle of last year, when the interest rate started going up. And this actually affected the housing market, because not a lot of people were in the market to buy homes. Because when you think about, if mortgage is what, 5% or 6 or 7%, by the time you calculate and let's say you're purchasing a house of about, I'd say maybe 400,000 or 500,000, imagine how much you're going to be paying back. And your rate is 7%, your mortgage rate is 7%. Imagine how much you're going to be paying back every month. How much is going to be coming out of your family's income every month just for housing. So that's another thing that has really gone up in Canada, aside from food, is housing costs, be it in terms of rent or mortgage. Now, this one is also a very important one that we have seen a drastic change in, and is as a result of employment, right? So again, because of the large influx of people coming into Canada, I'd like to believe that the way or the manner in which people are able to get employed, especially in their choice of like in the area where they have expertise, basically in the areas where they have experience, or in their choice of occupation, in their choice of occupation has drastically reduced, right? And there's a whole lot of competition in the system right now. If you look at some of the videos that we've done in the past, we talked about occupations that you could transition into, in order to be able to at least get a reasonable salary, or make a reasonable income. Now there's such a massive competition in such space. An example would be in business analysis, right? So again, and we have a lot of people coming in from different countries. India is also one of them, and these guys, at least they are heavily when it comes to tech. India and tech, they are like, they are like 5 and 6, right? So we have a lot of people coming in and going directly into that space. So it's like, even if I don't have experience in this occupation from back home, I am coming into Canada and I am going to get, take a course or take a certification and try to get experience in that line so that I can move into it. So the likes of project management, business analysis, and things like that. Whilst it is easy to get into those kinds of, or relatively easy, I would say, to get into those types or transition into those kinds of occupation, the competition therein is now very, very stiff. So it becomes not very easy for people to get jobs. A lot of people are getting laid off in that line, and it is even difficult for the experienced people to get another company to employ them. You can imagine how saturated that market is. So that is also something that one might also want to put into consideration coming into Canada in 2024. What occupation am I in? What do I have experience in? How would I be able to transition, into the society? How would I be able to get something doing, right? These are things that one needs to consider moving into Canada in 2024. Now, another thing is that this one is for family people. This one is for people that have children, and it is the cost of daycare. Daycare. I'll say again, day and care. Daycare is expensive. Daycare is expensive. And thankfully, a province like Alberta and Manitoba, I believe, I'm not sure if other provinces do it, they have been trying to, they have a goal to get to the point where you're paying about $10 a day for daycare. So they have been providing subsidies and grants in order to offset the burden or the pressure on parents in terms of how much they are paying for daycare. But daycare is expensive. So even sometimes after that, after you remove the subsidy or the grant from the total that you're supposed to pay, meanwhile, there are two kinds of subsidies or grants that you would get. You get the normal, provincial one, and then there's another one that you'd get in terms of how much is your pay. So that one, the grant is like a fixed amount for everyone, but there is the subsidy in terms of that one is capped based on how much you're earning, how much your income is. So for example, a family that is earning 100,000 might get like a subsidy of maybe $200, while a family that is earning like maybe 80,000 or 60,000 might get a subsidy of maybe $300 or $400, right? So it just depends. They have the table, then you look at the brackets that you're in. Now, after you've taken out all of those subsidies and grants, you still look at how much you're paying. I'm like, why is it so high for this Jeliosimi? Well, we call it Jeliosimi, but again, it's actually a lot of work to take care of those kids, right? So daycare cost is actually very expensive, and you might envisage yourself paying something about over $1,000, or you might actually envisage yourself, maybe paying about $400, $300, $500 for daycare. Now multiply that by how many kids that you have. If you're especially children, maybe you have children that are within that age range where they need to go to daycare. Multiply that. If you have 2 or 3 children that would need to be in the daycare, that would be like $500 times 2, or $400 or $300 times 3. And you multiply that versus how much you're making and all the other costs that you have, every month. We've talked about food, we've talked about housing, and all of these things have increased. And we've also talked about employment in terms of the kinds of job, that you're going to get. Again, we find out that a lot of people now, just because of the fact that they were not able to get a job in their line of occupation, they have to settle for something lower than what they would normally do. And that could, also mean now because you're just doing a kind of job that you're trying to get by, it may mean that you're not making as much as you would as a family, right? So that's also something else that you'd also want to consider. And just to touch back on the housing part that we discussed earlier about mortgage, what we have now seen is that now, because the prices of homes have increased, then you realize that there's more money you have to save up in order to be able to get your down payment, right? So if in 2022, it would have taken somebody 1 year to save up to be able to buy a home in the following year, right now, you may need up to about 1.5 years to save up the amount that you now need to put down as down payment. So those are some of the things that we need to consider, factors that you need to, consider, to think about, just for you to be able to make a wholesome decision for yourself in terms of, should I move to Canada in 2024, or am I better off where I am right now? Because again, you want to think about, there are so many things. I mean, humans, we have aspirations, we have goals. We also have to look at it vis-a-vis what is is it feasibility? Yes, the feasibility of these things versus how old am I, and things like that. So those are things that we need to consider, and we thought we'll share this with you guys just to let you know what the state of things are here, in order to help you make a wholesome decision as regards whether you're looking to move to Canada this year, or or not. Okay guys, so this is all we have to share with you for today, and yeah, with this we have come to the end of the video. Please do not forget to do a like, share and subscribe. We'll see you again in our next video. Bye for now.